Yay Networks.
Welcome back to Bees In with Brit. I'm your host, Brit Madrid-Mogensen, and today we are going to have a chat. So if you guys have been listening to the podcast, and if you haven't, welcome. If you've been listening, you know that we've been talking about the end of Sagittarius season. Last episode, I did a deep dive into some overarching transits to put in your calendar. And since then, I have gone on a couple of other podcasts. Check it out, by the way, if you haven't. Caroline Craddock's Keep Looking Up podcast. We did a deep dive and we talked all about astrology and we went back to basics. And that got me thinking about this podcast and what I really want to share with you guys and get into, especially in the new year and beyond. So let's chat a little bit about that. Okay. So I know that when you're looking at astrology, let's say you're reading your horoscope or you just happen to pop by an article about some celebrity astrology. It's fun, right? And we can see different little things like our sun sign. There's I feel like there are little bitty pieces everywhere. But what I really want to do with this podcast and what I really want to encourage you guys to do on this journey is to get to know your own birth chart and to really start understanding each of your placements. Because at the end of the day, as someone who I do readings for people all the time and I love it. But every time I finish a reading, I'm always I wish that I could continue to tell this person XYZ. Or, and who wants to be creepy astrologer who's just hey, did you see this? Not me. So I want you guys, this sounds cheesy, but to empower yourselves to really get to know your own birth chart so that you can be your own astrologer. Because there's just some little special something, some magic, some mysticism, some universal, boost of support that comes from really using astrology to problem solve, get motivated, even to get dressed. We've talked on here about, dressing for the season. But what I've come into contact with, with my readings, with my friends, with people that I chit chat about astrology with at parties, it's that there's this gap in knowledge where people kind of don't understand why. And I feel like you can either get really into astrology and listen to these podcasts where it's confusing and it's and it's over my head sometimes too. I get bored when I'm listening to a really long astrology chat. And then there's the other side where it's pop astrology and you're reading your sun sign horoscope and sometimes it doesn't resonate, or you're reading a description of your sun sign and that doesn't resonate because that's one very small part of who you are. Astrology can actually be more of a guidebook to you, to your soul. You can find your purpose, you can find your weaknesses, you can find your strengths. And everybody talks about that, but so many people walking around day to day are I just don't know how to find that. It really doesn't make sense. So we're going to try to bring it back down to basics and get to know our birth charts together, because I think that that is going to give you just some new tools that, it's going to make you unstoppable, especially with the astrology we have going on in 2023. So, okay, so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. I'm going to tell you guys some things that you can start getting to know, start working on, start thinking about when it comes to your own birth chart, how to solve some different problems. And then we're going to talk about Capricorn season, because Capricorn season is a vibe, it's a style. We have some style icons to discuss. So we're going to get to all of that when we get back. Let's talk about becoming your own astrologer, and not in not in the way where you guys are expected to know every single little thing about your birth chart, but there are some practical things. There are some easy things that once you know them, you know them. You have them in your head and you don't necessarily have to read every astrology book out there to get it. So let's start with some of the basic things that you need to know about yourself and also about other people. So let's talk about the big three. That's the basic thing that every person, you hear people at a party say, oh, I'm a Virgo sun, Sagittarius rising. And a lot of people are I don't know what those are. I just know my sun sign, right? That's a common thing we hear. So if you want to understand what those three things are, Then, first of all, you need to have your birth chart in front of you. And this is so easy to find. There are so many free resources online. So just pull up. I like astro-charts.com. I've talked about that before. It's just super easy and it's fun. They have celebrity charts, different things you can look at. So just put in all your information. You're going to need your birth date. Your birth time is really important if you want to see like your houses and different things like that, which we'll get to that later, like in another episode, because that is a whole different world. And we really don't need to know that right now. We're just getting to know you, like you as a person. So, okay. So you're going to want to have like your birth time, date, also the place, your place of birth, just like the city, state. And if you don't have your like any of that information, because some people don't have their time of birth on their birth chart or they don't have anyone they can ask, you can look up something called chart rectification services from a reputable astrologer. You can find them. And you'll be able to talk to an astrologer who will ask you a bunch of questions about your personality, and they'll have the birth information that you do have, like, the place and the day, obviously. And then they will be able to give you all the information that you would be able to get automatically if you had that on hand. So don't worry. If you don't have that info, I really do think you should get chart rectification done though. So, okay. So you have the info, you've typed it in, you have your information. You want to look, there's going to be like a list of all of your placements. It's going to say like sun, we'll just use me for example, sun in Virgo. It'll say moon in like moon in Scorpio, ascendant Sagittarius. Your ascendant sign, some websites say ascendant, that means rising sign. It is the planet or it is the constellation that was on the horizon at the time of your birth. So again, don't get too caught up in the words because guys, I'm telling you, it took me years to get any of this straight in my head. So let's talk about your rising sign. Your rising sign or your ascendant, just look at what it says. Don't think too much about it. That zodiac sign is going to tell you about how you look like physically, how you approach the world, like your point of view. So, for example, if you have Sagittarius rising, that's what I have. You tend to be someone who is always trying to find the bright side of situations. You can be very optimistic. So, that is like the mindset that comes natural to me. And like the downsides of that will be, sometimes I am too big picture and I don't look at the details. Also, people with different rising signs will have an emphasis on different parts of the body. Okay. So, like Sagittarius risings tend to have really strong legs. When I was in grade school, I was a cheerleader and I was always a back base because I have a really strong, like you can't see it on the podcast, but I've got like strong legs, always have. And like my mom jokes that I was born with muscle. So you can see exactly like how you kind of look physically based on this. So, okay, that's your rising sign, how you look, how you see the world naturally. Your moon sign is going to be how you feel and like how you process your emotions. That's not something that people will see when they first get to know you. Whereas your ascendant, obviously, they're going to see that right away because they're going to pick up on it, the way you look, the way you see the world, how you kind of talk. You have to get to know someone a lot better to see their moon sign, which is your emotions. So just think moon emotions. In astrology, the moon always has to do with emotions. So, like, what I like to think of in my head to like kind of keep it straight is, when there's like those beautiful landscapes of the ocean and there's like a big full moon, what I'm talking about? Like, there are photographs like that. That's like my mnemonic device of like what I imagine because the moon and like water signs, emotion. So just think moon, emotion, water signs, that kind of energy. That is a more intimate thing. So like the people that you date, the people that you end up in a serious relationship with, your parents, your moon sign also describes your childhood. So depending on like the kind of experiences that you had as a child, your moon sign will describe that. So it's kind of a fun exercise to do as you get to know yourself, as you get to know your birth chart. Google it, Google's a handy little tool, or pick up an astrology book. There are so many good ones. And look at the moon sign, read about your moon sign, read about that zodiac sign, and think about your childhood when you're doing that. And depending on, what you went through, like if you have a Scorpio moon, sometimes that can be kind of difficult to look at. If you had a Capricorn moon, your childhood was probably a little more intense. A lot of people had to go through different things with a Capricorn moon. Whatever it is for you, it's going to be described really well. And these are the little things too that when we get that confirmation, it helps us to like trust in astrology and trust in the process more. So really do it. Like make this little DIY thing. Okay, then your sun sign, and that is what is described by regular horoscopes. It's your birthday, like we all kind of know that off the top of our heads. Your sun sign is your soul's purpose. Okay, a lot of people don't realize exactly what your sun sign tells you. So let's talk about it. If you have a moment in time where you're feeling kind of lost, for example, um, you can look to your sun sign description to understand the kind of activities that you are naturally going to be good at. So a lot of the time, we have like these different things going on at the same time, right? It's like, what do I choose? Let's say if it's a career path, like which career path do I choose? What is really meant for me, right? When you're trying to make decisions like that, looking to your sun sign right off the bat, it's going to help you so much. So for example, my sun sign is in Virgo. Well, if I look back at my career like trajectory and like all the things I've done, it's really interesting because Virgo is the sign of like wellness, service, a lot of health things, like a lot of like fitnessy things. So I've been a group fitness instructor. I have been a sports reporter. Like all these things have to do with like the physical body and being in the environment of like people working out, wellness. When I first got like onto another talk show, like really like when I transitioned from sports to like doing these types of segments that I like mind, body, soul stuff, my first gig was as a health reporter. Like I did like health stories. I interviewed doctors. Like what? But if you look at the Virgo sun sign, I could have like predicted that. And the sun sign is what comes to you. So it's not like I went out and looked for these things necessarily. Like I was around the right people. I kind of knew some things, but truly your sun sign will come to you. So when you understand your sun sign qualities, what your sun sign is drawn to, what your sun sign likes, you will be able to trust in these opportunities a little bit more. And it just helps you to know that like you're on the right track. And then with this podcast, right, we're doing mind, body, soul. That's all very Virgo sun. So those are your big three: your sun, moon, rising, or ascendant. And when you're trying to set up your like self knowledge, truly the best thing to do is to understand those three, commit them to memory, and start understanding like the positive qualities and the negative qualities of those three signs so that you can start to kind of apply them to your moon sign, your emotional world, your sun sign, your life purpose, your rising sign, your style. So you can be looking your best. Okay, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your purpose in your birth chart, and then we're going to get to Capricorn season. To go even deeper into your purpose or like your soul destiny, you want to look at your North Node and you want to look at your Chiron too. Let me explain what those are. A lot of the time, like I said, like a lot of the time, these things can seem super intimidating. It's like, oh my God, what do all these things mean? Write it down. If you're feeling overwhelmed, write it down, because your sun sign, if your sun sign is your purpose, if your sun sign is what naturally comes to you, especially in the world of like work and like your day to day, your North Node is where you're going. And the North Node unfolds over like a long period of time. So the North Node is going to tell you where you're going to continue to travel towards, and it really kicks in your 30s. So if you are in your 20s or younger and you are listening to this, looking at your North Node will tell you a lot about what you can expect in the future. And by that, I mean the you that you want to continue to grow into and embody. If you're in your 30s and beyond, when you read your North Node, you're going to be like, oh my God, okay, this is definitely part of my identity as an adult. This is something that I learned as I got older. This is not something that was innate. This was not a part of my personality when I was younger. So it's this transition. And also, okay, also talking about that, another big thing to understand is your solar Saturn return that happens between the ages of 27 and 30. And I've talked about that before, but the reason that that's important is because, like, this time period is when you are really starting to let go of your childhood identity, okay? And that's like the things that you came into the world with, your natural way of being. Then you go through like all these things, right? Up until the age of 30, and you shift, you change. You're like, who am I really? And you start to find your own identity. And this is described in astrology. You go through this transition period. A lot of the time it's really tough. That's why people always say, like, oh my gosh, the end of my 20s, it was so hard. I had to find myself. I changed jobs. I broke up with this person. I found the love of my life. It's this part of your life that if you are, it can either be like if you were on the wrong path or you're on the right path, but now it's time to make a big like quantum leap forward. The universe is going to step in between the ages of 27 and 30 and think back. If you think back, you can be like, okay, what was I doing at that time? For me personally, I had to move back in with my parents. It was lovely. And I had to do that to start my TV show. And so it was, for me personally, it was a moment where I was like, what do I really want? Is this worth it to me? What sacrifices do I have to make? And I just ate a big old slice of humble pie, and I kind of had to start from the ground up, like just starting over and living with my parents. And that was the whole experience, right? So it can shake your core, it can shake your sense of identity, your sense of self, and it can feel really hard. But when you do that, you're put into a place where you're able to start again. And that is like your mindset that you have going into adulthood. You know what I mean? It's like this full circle moment where you're forced to like take stock of everything that's gone on before the age of 30. And then you're like, okay, who am I going to be now? What have I learned? And then through that pain comes growth. And then you're like basically a whole new chapter and a whole new part of yourself is born. And that is when we really step out of that Saturn return and we cross the little bridge into our adulthood and we step into our North Node purpose. And that always feels really, really foreign. So when you're reading about your North Node, I really recommend like journaling about all this stuff, by the way, because when you write things down, not only do you connect with your intuition, but you can like look back at it, and you can create a relationship with this is going to sound, but you can create a relationship with your birth chart. It's a whole like spiritual connection that you can really start to develop. So I would write about it, write a little bit about like your North Node and like how do you resonate with it? How do you not resonate with it? Um, that's another reason to become your own astrologer. I know I keep saying that, but there is something that other people cannot give you, and that is to walk in your shoes, to connect to your own intuition. Astrology like really is a tool that I think I've come to learn, especially as I've like done readings on other people and on myself. It's best used as a tool like for you to connect to you. And that's where it becomes powerful. So I'm just saying, like, give it a try, start to write about it. Think about how, if you started to embody, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, and beyond, we work on our North Node for our entire lives. So, like, I'll use myself as an example again, just because I know my birth chart, obviously, like the back of my hand. Um, I have an Aries North Node. So, my purpose in this life is to, like, after I've crossed that bridge over, so I had to go back. Sometimes you got to go backwards before you go forwards. It's to be an Aries, basically, to become an Aries, to become that energy. Growing up, I was an extremely shy child. So you look to your South Node to see the difficulties and like the hurdles that you have to overcome as you get to your North Node. By the way, the South Node and the North Node will both be on that list of placements when you first get your birth chart. And don't get overwhelmed. There's going to be like a list of placements. Just, go slow, take it easy, and you'll see the sign right next to it. So, right next to each word. So, your South Node is always going to be opposite of your North Node, okay? And that's going to describe the hurdles that you have to overcome to get to your North Node. And we continue to overcome these hurdles, like I said, past your 30s, 40s, 50s, beyond, because the North Node is your destiny. It's an overarching theme of your whole entire life and your life's purpose, your life journey. So for me, my South Node is in Libra. Libra is a sign of partnership. Aries is the sign of independence. So a lot of things come with Libra energy, like putting yourself second, being a people pleaser, being shy. 1000%. Yes. And then as you become an Aries, you're not afraid to stand out. You're not afraid to be different. You're not afraid to, and I described a lot of Aries qualities in the last episode, right? Because Jupiter's moving into Aries. So anyway, you do the research, you type in that North Node zodiac sign, and you start to get to know it. And then you can see how these are the things typically that you will want to rely on, these qualities, the positive qualities of your North Node. This is what you want to rely on, like from now into the future. If you ever get into a situation where you're feeling stressed, you need to solve a problem, you're feeling blocked, because the universe will put you in situations to help you grow that are going to force you to, you can either move into that North Node destiny and become it and get out of your comfort zone and like act as that zodiac sign, or you can fight it, but you're going to keep being put in that position no matter what. So, understanding it 9 times out of 10, if you have resistance, if you're struggling, if you're stressed, by acting as if you are that North Node zodiac sign, by acting out the positive qualities. So, for example, Aries energy would be, if I had a problem, I would say, okay, I've got an Aries North Node. So, what does that mean I should do? Well, always err on the side of being independent, being honest, being forthright, and getting out of my comfort zone, blazing a trail. So, I would say, okay, like, what is something I need to communicate with someone else? Is there something that I can do differently? Is there something that I'm afraid of that I'm not doing? Because Aries is like the fearless sign. So these are the kind of questions that you want to start asking yourself as you get to know your North Node placement. And then another thing that you want, another thing you want to understand is your Chiron placement. And just in a nutshell, right off the bat, I don't want to get too deep into it because I know this can be overwhelming. So let's go slow with it. Your Chiron placement tells you about your greatest wound, your greatest like barrier to success, to happiness, to fulfilling your soul's purpose. And everybody has a Chiron placement and it will be in a specific zodiac sign. So, again, for example, my Chiron is in Gemini. Gemini is the sign of communication. It has to do with a Chiron placement in Gemini, has to do with like going through different things in childhood where your honest communication was not encouraged. So that can cause me, for example, to shut down and like not communicate or be afraid to talk on a podcast or on television. And what's crazy is, as you can see, if you look at your own life as well, you'll be able to see this crystal clear in your own birth chart and in your own life. It does translate. The universe is going to put you in a position to where you've got to face that, right? Whether that's putting a desire in your heart, whether that is putting you into a position where that's really like all you can do is act from that positive side of your Chiron. So you want to get to know your Chiron. In a nutshell, type in again, use handy dandy Google. Type in the zodiac sign of your Chiron and just read about it. Just get to know it. There's also a really good book if you find that like you're resonating with your Chiron a lot, because depending on where you're at in life, sometimes you've already kind of faced it and sometimes you haven't. And only you know that, right? Only your intuition and like your soul can tell you that. So if you feel like when you're Googling it, you start to read about it, you're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is something that I've experienced. It's usually a childhood wound. This is something from childhood. And like, I struggle with this a lot. If you're in that place, there is a book called The Chiron Connection. And we had the author, Lisa Tahir, on the podcast. Like, I mean, I think it might have been it was last year, literally last year. But if you want to scroll back, you can listen to that episode. And she talks about the different Chiron signs, or just get that book and you can like look at every single Chiron sign. You can get to know yours. You can get to know the Chiron sign of your friends, your significant other, and it will, I just can't even tell you. Like, it will help you in ways that you cannot even imagine right now. Like, making these things conscious, these hidden things conscious is like, it's just a game changer, you know? Okay, so when we get back, we are gonna talk about like 2 more things about your birth chart, and then we're gonna get into Capricorn season style and how to just make the most of this boss energy. A couple more fun parts of your birth chart to know about. So, okay, we just dove deep. When you want to talk about your purpose, you want to talk about your destiny, right? These are the Chiron, the North Node. Those are the things to get into. But let's say you have a hot date tonight and you want to look your best and you're like, I don't know what to wear. I could either wear the little black dress or I could do something colorful. I could do a blouse. Maybe I want to do a skirt. Like, if you just don't know what to do, look at your Venus sign in your birth chart. Again, it'll be in that list of placements that comes up from your free chart. And you want to look at your Venus. So look at that Venus sign and again, just type it in. Like for me, my Venus is in Scorpio. So if I have a hot date, you know I'm wearing either black, red, or burgundy. Like, and that's it. Because those are like the lucky colors of my Venus sign. Those are the lucky colors of Scorpio. And they're also the colors that look best on a Scorpio. So when you type in that Venus sign, you may be, let's say, like you may have a sun sign that's like a Leo, but let's say that your Venus sign is Capricorn, which we're going to talk about Capricorn season style in a little bit. You're going to find out that actually, for a hot date, instead of wearing something that a Leo would wear typically, like something glitzy, something gold, something purple, something fabulous, you're going to find that you're actually going to have better luck, be more attractive, and feel more attractive, like feel more confident, feel like sexier if you dress like a Capricorn because it's your Venus sign. And that would be something way more conservative, completely polar opposite from our sun signs. So during these different experiences that we have, like you really can channel different parts of your birth chart, almost like your alter ego, you know? So, like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, you have your Venus sign, and that is what you want to use. And I'm telling you, oh my God, like just, I can't wait for you guys all to do it. You're going to feel so good. You're going to feel so pretty. Like it's going to be the colors that just work with your skin tone, that just work with you. Okay. So that's your Venus sign. Get to know it. Like type in Venus in whatever that sign is for you, Venus in Scorpio, and then read all about it. Also, read about that zodiac sign to inform you, like with your love languages, your love style. Venus is about like love, beauty, also money a little bit. So it's really the way that you approach like looking good and how you like get your way. So anyway, read about it, get to know it, rely on it for like a hot date, rely on it for just really being like seductive and feeling beautiful. That's really like in a nutshell what you should, yeah, look at that. Okay. Now let's say that you want to get in shape. Everybody is always like, "Oh my god, it's the new year, we wanna get in shape." And first of all, you're beautiful exactly as you are, it doesn't matter. But if you want to, like, work out more, you want to, you know, try out something new fitness-wise, and you feel like, "I have just never been able to stick with a fitness routine in my life." Well, look at your Mars sign, because your Mars sign will tell you everything you need to know about, like, a workout that you can stick to, something that you'll really like. So, for example, if your Mars sign is Capricorn, but you have been going to dance classes with your girlfriends because it's like a fun thing everybody's doing together, and you find that like you are just like, okay, I'm dreading this. It's like a Zumba class. I'm dreading this. I don't want to go to this Zumba class. Like I would rather lay on the couch, and you just start to like fall off, and you find that this happens like every time. And you look at your Mars sign and you realize, okay, my Mars is in Capricorn. That's going to tell you everything you need to know. So people with their Mars in Capricorn, like sweating in a dance class, like maybe some of you guys like that, but 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a no for a Capricorn and Mars. You guys actually can stick to a plan and you really thrive when you do something in nature Also, think about the zodiac sign of the goat, right? Goats go up a mountain. So, Capricorn Mars people are like the best mountain climbers, the best hikers. Even if you go to the gym, I know it's like freezing right now. So, if you go to the gym and like that stair stepper, that stair climber, if a Capricorn Mars pops in an audiobook and goes on that stair stepper, like you are going to stick to that workout. You're going to love it. So, that's the thing. It's like, it's not necessarily like you being lazy or you being or like not being disciplined. That's kind of what I want to get across also with this, you guys. It's not about you not being something. Sometimes it's just about you not knowing what your what your birth chart says. And like once you have that information, you're like, "Oh my god, okay, so I haven't been failing. I haven't been not disciplined. Actually, I'm just doing the wrong thing. I'm just trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It's not working." So, get to know that Mars sign for motivation, for fitness, for workouts. Also, it's going to tell you about, like I mentioned, motivation, but especially like when it comes to work and how you can be successful, your Mars sign is going to tell you about what lights your fire. So if you are someone who, we're going to stick with Mars and Capricorn. Also, my Mars is in Capricorn, so that'll be easy. Um, if you are someone who finds that you're like losing motivation, and especially as we get ready to like tackle all these New Year's goals, right? Looking at your Mars sign is going to tell you the attitude that you need to adopt in order to stick with things and be successful. So for me, because of my Mars in Capricorn, I will only stick with something if I set clear goals, if I like already start with knowing where exactly I'm going, because Capricorn is the sign that has to climb the mountain. Like I need to know what's on the top of the mountain. And if I know what it is and if I really think about it and focus on it, also Capricorns are very competitive with themselves. So like I have to like track like what did I do last week? What am I doing this week? What's happening next week? And if I stay on that and get into that mindset, like I will not stop, right? Like I will be like that goat and I will keep climbing the mountain. However, if I get to where I'm like kind of scattered, which happens all the time, if I get to where I'm like really scattered or like, I'm starting to kind of just, I don't know, I'm not setting goals and I'm living out my Sagittarius rising sign. Like I'm letting that get away from me a little too much, that Sagittarius mindset that I have because of my rising sign. If I stop and I'm like, okay, wait, I need to get motivated. I'm totally off track. I will immediately look to my Mars sign. I'll be like, what are the Capricorn things I can do today? What list can I write? What what planner do I need to buy? Like, and that will change everything. It's so crazy. Like, please DM me, email us, like hello at b-zen.tv. Like, let me know when you guys start trying these out because it just changes your life. Like, honestly, it'll rock your world. You'll be like, "Oh my god, okay, that was all I really needed to do to understand that part of me." Okay, so that'll be fun. Good luck. Get motivated, get beautified. Like, you guys, I can't wait to see you all just thriving with your birth charts. Let's talk about how to make the most of this Capricorn season. So, we're in Capricorn season from December 22nd through January 19th every single year. And no matter what your zodiac sign is, when you need a little boost or, you're like, okay, I need a little boost today. Like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed or I just need a little extra luck. Look at the season that you're in. And right now that's Capricorn season and take some pointers from that sign because that is the vibe. Okay. Whatever the season is, that is like the vibe right now. So that's what you're going to be encountering out in the world. And the more you can mirror that energy, the more you can work that energy into like your day to day life, the more you can learn from that zodiac sign during that, about a month time period, the more you're, first of all, going to like develop yourself in a new way. And then also the more successful you're going to be. So, because it's Capricorn season, let's talk about how to look more like a Capricorn, the style, the makeup. These things are like super easy that you can just try out to try on the Capricorn persona. Okay, so Capricorns dress Okay, I'm wearing Capricorn season outfit right now. If you guys are watching on YouTube, it's like it's red, it's black, it's got a structured shoulder. It says to me, it says I'm the boss. It says this is kind of tailored. This is like it's it's kind of like conservative, although this is a little bit low cut, but the pattern, it's tweed. It says, country clubbish. So you want to think about looking very polished during Capricorn season. So a Capricorn season sun sign that usually looks pretty polished. Like she doesn't necessarily wear a tweed, but she will rock gray, she will rock black, and that is Kate Moss. The reason I chose her as like this style icon for Capricorn season is because she is such a classic Capricorn. Kind of a weird thing about Capricorns is that, and this is every zodiac sign has like a body part they rule, right? So, fun fact, you know how back in like, I think it was like the 90s, there was that like heroin chic trend, which is like not good, right? Like everybody's body's beautiful. Thank God we've come such a long way. But just to like, so you guys can see this illustrated, that was like the trend for a little period of time. And who was the person that ushered that in? Kate Moss. And Capricorn rules the bones. So, okay, it's so weird, I know, but like it's just that blew my mind when I like found that out. Capricorn people tend to have they like you're small boned kind of. They tend to just naturally be a little more small boned. They can be kind of like pointy. So you know how I said people with like your ascendant sign will tell you about how you look physically. So Megan Fox has Capricorn rising. And if you look at her like in her photos, she does have like prominent bones, right? Like she has like prominent cheekbones. She has like a very fine nose. She has like her lips are like kind of pouted, but they're like it's just everything is very like pointed. It sounds so weird, but that is kind of the general vibe of like anyone with a Capricorn rising. There will be something about them that's just a little bit more like pointed. So that's just like a fun fact. I just think that's so interesting and weird that like, it can just be down to like such a detail that you can describe different things with zodiac signs. But the energy really is like it's like Ice Queen, businessy. Kate Moss was also one of the most successful supermodels, like financially. So there is just a lot of Capricorn energy that she embodies. Another Capricorn sun sign who is on the opposite spectrum. She's not a Capricorn rising, but she is a Capricorn sun. So this is like the purpose, right? We talked about that earlier. It's like your purpose, how you shine, what you're here to do, your natural way of showing up in the world. Dolly Parton's also a Capricorn. And when you first look at her, you're like, wait, hold on. There is nothing polished or like, black and gray. Like she doesn't wear those colors. Well, that's true. But if you look at her sun sign, you'll see that she fits Capricorn energy to a T because Capricorns are all about success, business, finance. Dolly Parton is so rich. It is insane. And she also has used that money that she's made to build a legacy for herself and for other people. Legacy is something else that rules Capricorn energy. So, like, you know, Christmas time is time of traditions. Capricorn rules traditions. It rules like setting things up for the greater good for other people. And remember, like Dolly Parton put in a lot of money for the Moderna vaccine research. Like that's a very Capricorn energy. It's like making money and then doing something with it that benefits people outside of yourself in your family or like the world at large in a way that is like tangible through money, through finance, through resources. So if you also read like any of her quotes, as I've read like all of Dolly Parton's quotes, I've read her books. Yes, I've read all about it. Probably because my Mars sign's Capricorn, but she inspires me, and she activates my Mars sign because when she talks about business, she is very to the point. And if you don't believe me, Google it. Like Dolly Parton quotes about business, very to the point. She is like all about being detail oriented. She's all about showing up, being on time, discipline, hard work. Like, I mean, she sounds like a Capricorn. She may not look like a Capricorn. We can look into her rising sign another day, but her sun sign, how she shows up in the world, how she walks into a room and interacts with other people is very much a Capricorn. She is a straightforward person, as straightforward as you get. So that is like, okay, so that's kind of like the look, the feel, the energy. This is a time when if you want to like ask for a raise or if you want to really anything that you want to do during this time period, think about principles that rule Capricorn energy. And you're going to want to have like a presentation almost. Okay. This is not the time like Sagittarius season last season. That was a time where we could kind of get away with like painting a big, beautiful picture, getting people excited and optimistic, you know, dreaming about things. That will work during Sagittarius season. But in Capricorn season, you need to come ready. Like, you got to have your facts and figures. You've got to do your research. You've got to honestly have like a little presentation. That is what will make you successful during Capricorn season because people are just going to be in that mindset of wanting to see the numbers. You know, it's like wanting to see the numbers, wanting to see the facts. That's just the energy that blankets, you know, our world during Capricorn season. So if you want to like incorporate a little bit of Capricorn energy into your makeup, which I think that's like a fun, easy way to do it. You don't necessarily have to like wear Capricorn season clothes. But if you want to incorporate that into your, you know, your looks, your makeup routine, coal black eyeliner is Capricorn energy. So doing like a tight line, especially like to really bring out your eyes. Capricorns have very Capricorn rising has very like piercing eyes. And if you look at Kate Moss, a lot of the photos where she's like looking more like sensual, she has that coal eyeliner. That was a big thing like in the 90s. So like you want to do the coal eyeliner, tight line it to where you like put the eyeliner like right under well, you can Google it, you can YouTube it, but do a tight line and leave like the rest of your eye like pretty much bare, maybe like a nude a little bit, but really it's about like think like stark, minimalistic, sharp. Those would be ways to like describe Capricorn season style and the way that things like the way you want to kind of present yourself in fashion and beauty. Another person that I think sometimes really rocks a great Capricorn vibe to channel is Capricorn North Node, Olivia Culpo. And if you guys have been watching the Culpo Sisters show, which I have become obsessed with that show, for me, they're like the new Kardashians. Okay. Like I love them. I love their energy. I love their like little sisterly bond. They kind of fight, but they're like more wholesome. Like, I don't know. I just love them. Well, I looked up her birth chart because I was like, she's got to be a Capricorn. Like, she just seems like a Capricorn. Well, that's not her sun sign, but that is her North Node sign. So she's definitely stepping like fully into her North Node purpose right now in her life, and we can see it. And there's this picture of her on her Instagram that if you guys are watching on YouTube, hopefully we're popping that photo up. But she's wearing this red, it's like a suit, and it's this Gucci suit. It's like very bold, very big, almost like military style. Um, and it just looks phenomenal on her. Like it looks so good. So that's like just like another good example of like an outfit that makes a statement. Like it steps into the room with you step into the room with authority. So just these are the things like to keep in mind when you're trying to get dressed for the day or you're like, okay, I need a boost. Like I'm having to be really disciplined in my life right now. Channel that, work with it. Anything that's like sharp lines, military style, pants that are like really pressed. Just think putting that like best foot forward, looking polished, like that is number one during Capricorn season. And I actually put together a fun like Capricorn season edit. I have it like I made it on like my Revolve ambassador account. So if you guys go to my Instagram or I'll put the link in the bio of the YouTube, I've picked out a bunch of Capricorn season looks for you guys that you can check out. And it's all just like grays, blacks, whites, creams, lighter colors, and then really bold, sharp lines that just make you look polished and pulled together. So you can just be your boss self. Okay, well, you guys, that is it for this episode. I hope that you guys continue to learn about your birth charts. I hope that you really give it a chance and go deeper into it because it is so rewarding. It's so life-changing. And you don't have to become an astrologer. Like, just get to know your own chart. And it's just such a great way to connect with yourself and also like with your friends, with your family members, with your significant others. It'll change your life, I'm telling you. Okay, so there's that. And then I will see you guys next time. Have a great new year. And I'm going to give you guys a big hug, and I'll see you soon.